Ethan Kane sat in the cockpit of the human shuttle, staring out at the swirling colors of the alien sky. The planet before him was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Massive crystal towers reached toward the clouds, shimmering in the sunlight, and rivers of light flowed like liquid rain across the valleys below. He had read reports and seen holograms, but nothing compared to the real thing. His heart beat fast, part fear, part excitement. He adjusted his armor for the 100th time. The sleek human combat suit was designed for protection and mobility. But here, among the aliens, it made him stand out like a fortress on legs. Ethan knew he looked strange. He had been warned that this young alien queen, Lyra, was sharp and quick-witted. Many envoys had failed to impress her, and she had a reputation for testing humans, often cruelly. As the shuttle landed on a platform high above the city, Ethan could see a crowd gathered below. Aliens of all shapes, tall and short, winged and limbless, scaled and smooth, watched silently. Their eyes glowed with curiosity. Ethan felt the weight of his mission. He was not here as a soldier this time. He was here as a representative of humanity, tasked with creating peace and trust. Yet the thought of facing Lyra made him uneasy. The doors of the shuttle opened with a hiss. Ethan stepped onto the platform. His boots clicked on the crystalline floor, sending reflections of light dancing across the platform. Guards in golden armor approached him, their movements precise, almost robotic. At their head was Lyra herself. She was young, barely 19 as the reports had said, but she carried herself with the confidence of a ruler twice her age. Her skin shimmered faintly, like pearl, and her eyes were deep pools of violet. She smiled at him, but there was no warmth in it, only amusement. "Welcome, human," she said in perfect galactic common. Her voice was light, almost teasing, but it carried authority. "I hear you wear your armor always. Do you hide behind it because you are afraid?" Ethan felt a flush of heat beneath his helmet. Many humans would have been insulted, but he reminded himself to stay calm. Diplomacy was fragile, and one wrong move could ruin everything. He bowed slightly. "I wear my armor for protection, Your Majesty," he said evenly. "Not because I am afraid. I come in peace and with respect." Lyra tilted her head, studying him like one studies an interesting insect. She laughed softly, a sound like chimes in the wind. "Peace, you say? With all that metal around you? You look more like a walking castle than a peace envoy. Tell me, human, what do you hope to accomplish dressed like that?" Ethan took a deep breath. The air here was different, tinged with faint electricity and floral scent. It made him feel alive but slightly dizzy. He knew words alone might not impress her. He had to show something more: strength, intelligence, or courage. Yet how? Before he could respond, Lyra gestured, and the guards parted. "Come, walk with me. I want to see if humans are as interesting as they say." Ethan followed her through the city. Crystal towers stretched high, reflecting sunlight and creating rainbows on the streets below. Citizens of the alien world watched them, their eyes wide with curiosity. Ethan felt every gaze on him. He reminded himself to keep his shoulders straight, his head high. He would not show fear. Lyra stopped at a courtyard where alien children played a game that looked like a mix of racing and flying. They moved with elegance and speed, leaping over light streams without touching them. Ethan watched, impressed. Humans could not move like that, not naturally. Yet, he reminded himself, humans had their own strengths: innovation, endurance, creativity. "You watch too much," Lyra said suddenly, breaking his thoughts. She stepped closer, her eyes sharp. "Tell me, human, do you think you could ever match our agility? Or will your heavy armor slow you to a crawl?" Ethan felt a twinge of irritation. The queen was mocking him openly, and he knew that if he responded with anger, it could end badly. But he also knew he could not let her belittle him entirely. He squared his shoulders. "I may not move like your people naturally," he said carefully, "but humans are resourceful. We adapt, and we do not rely on armor alone to face challenges." Lyra's smile widened, but her eyes were calculating. "Interesting," she said. Very bold words for someone hiding behind so much metal. Perhaps I should see if your courage matches your words. Before Ethan could ask what she meant, she turned and gestured toward a nearby arena. The crowd moved aside, revealing a wide platform of polished crystal. Strange machines and holographic targets flickered to life. This is our trial courtyard, Lyra explained. Here young warriors prove themselves. Humans do not have warriors like ours. But perhaps you can show me your strength without all that armor. Ethan's mind raced. The arena was designed for beings far faster than him. The holographic targets moved unpredictably, and the platform itself shifted slightly with each step. Any human would struggle here. Yet he could not back down. If he failed, he would look weak in front of an entire alien city. I accept your challenge, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. I will do my best. Lyra laughed, a musical sound that echoed across the courtyard. Brave or foolish, time will tell. She turned to the guards. Step aside. Let the human try. Ethan entered the arena. The first target appeared, a small floating orb that zipped in erratic patterns. He lunged, dodging and weaving, relying on reflex rather than armor. His movements were clumsy compared to the aliens, but he adjusted quickly, using anticipation and timing. The crowd murmured. Some whispered about the human's bravery, others laughed at his awkwardness. Lyra leaned forward, her eyes sharp as she watched him closely. Suddenly, a larger target appeared, faster and unpredictable. Ethan knew this was the real test. He felt the weight of his armor more than ever, constraining his speed. For a moment, he considered removing it, but the thought was dangerous. Yet the mockery, the constant teasing burned in his pride. Could he show them that courage was more than protection? He took a deep breath. Then, with careful movements, he began removing pieces of his armor, layer by layer, until he stood in his basic uniform. His heart pounded, not just from physical exertion, but from the audacity of what he had done. The crowd gasped. Aliens stepped back, some whispering to each other. Lyra's eyes widened, and for a moment, she was silent. Then she laughed. Not cruelly this time, but genuinely, with a spark of surprise and admiration. Well, she said, her voice soft but sharp. Perhaps humans are more daring than I thought. Ethan nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. Courage is not in armor, he said simply. It is in action and choice. Lyra studied him, curiosity flashing in her violet eyes. You may have more to teach me than I expected, human, she said. Let us see if your actions match your words. As the sun set over the crystal city, casting long rainbow shadows across the courtyard, Ethan felt a new sense of purpose. He was no longer just a soldier. Here, on this alien world, he had a chance to prove that humanity's greatest strength was not in weapons or armor, but in heart, mind, and courage. And Lyra, the young queen who mocked him at first, had just given him the stage. The trial had begun. The crowd in the crystal arena had not stopped murmuring since Ethan had removed his armor. Whispers of human courage and "he dares without protection" echoed through the alien spectators. Ethan stood in the center of the platform, feeling the cool touch of crystal beneath his boots, his suit now light and unencumbered. The sun reflected off the towers around him, creating dazzling lights, yet he only focused on the path ahead. Queen Lyra floated above the platform, her violet eyes following his every move. She had expected him to be cautious, maybe even hesitant. Instead, he stood straight, his gaze steady, her amusement mixed with curiosity. Interesting, she whispered to herself. This human is bold. Perhaps too bold. Suddenly, the holographic targets shifted. This time they were not simple spheres or moving lights. They were complex, multi-dimensional simulations designed to test reflexes, intelligence, and adaptability. Aliens leaped and twisted, their bodies bending in ways humans could only dream of. But Ethan did not flinch. The first target moved in, a zigzag, unpredictable pattern. Ethan observed for a moment, learning its rhythm. Then he dashed forward, his movements measured, precise. He jumped over a light beam and tapped the target with the flat of his hand. A bright flash confirmed a hit. The crowd murmured in surprise. Humans were not supposed to succeed without armor or enhanced reflexes. Yet here he was, matching, even exceeding, expectations in certain ways. Lyra tilted her head, impressed. "Not bad," she said. "But the real challenge begins now." From the edges of the arena, floating platforms began to rise. Each moved independently, twisting and rotating. Ethan realized that the next target would require both agility and strategy. He took a deep breath, focusing on balance and observation. Unlike the aliens who relied on natural speed and flexibility, he relied on careful timing, intuition, and quick thinking. The second target appeared, a hovering, crystalline construct that split into smaller pieces when touched incorrectly. Ethan studied it. His first instinct was to strike quickly, but he remembered Lyra's words. This challenge was not about brute strength. It was about control. He moved cautiously, testing each piece, learning its pattern. Step by step, he tapped each fragment correctly. With a final leap, he touched the central core. The construct glowed brightly, signaling success. The crowd gasped, some clapping, others whispering. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. She floated closer. "You are clever," she said, her voice softer now. "I expected hesitation or failure. Yet you adapt." Ethan nodded slightly. "Adaptation is human nature," he said simply. "We learn quickly when faced with new challenges." Lyra smiled faintly. "Perhaps I misjudged humans." She gestured toward the next part of the trial, a moving labyrinth of crystal walls, rotating platforms, and shifting bridges. "This will test not just your reflexes but your intelligence and courage." Ethan entered the labyrinth cautiously. The walls shimmered, creating illusions that made paths appear longer or shorter than they really were. Some bridges seemed solid but collapsed if stepped on incorrectly. He relied on observation and intuition, carefully placing each footstep. His heart raced, but he forced himself to stay calm. Panic would cost him more than physical danger. Suddenly, a gap appeared ahead. Ethan could see a platform spinning rapidly below. He calculated the jump, timing it with his breath. He leaped and landed perfectly. A cheer rose from some of the alien spectators, though others were still skeptical. As he moved deeper into the labyrinth, Ethan noticed another figure. Lyra was floating above him, watching intently. She had stopped teasing and now observed with genuine interest. Her eyes studied his movements, noting not just speed but patience and strategy. She was learning from him as much as he was learning from the labyrinth. Halfway through, a surprise appeared, a holographic mimic of Ethan himself, designed to trick and confuse. It mirrored his moves but with slight delays, making it hard to distinguish real from fake. Ethan froze for a second, considering his options. Then he realized that rushing would only lead to mistakes. He slowed his movements, observing carefully. When the mimic jumped, he took a different path, sidestepping the illusion. The tricked mimic flickered and vanished. Lyra's voice echoed softly, almost approvingly. "Clever," she said. "You do not just react. You think. You analyze." Finally, Ethan reached the central chamber of the labyrinth. A large crystalline orb hovered in the air, rotating slowly. It was the final target. Around it, holographic defenses simulated dangerous traps, laser-like beams, moving walls, and gravity shifts. Ethan studied the pattern. He realized brute force would fail. He needed timing, strategy, and precision. He waited for the beams to align, then moved. Step by step, he avoided moving walls, ducked under beams, and balanced across shifting platforms. Every move was calculated yet fluid. He reached the orb and touched it lightly. A radiant light filled the chamber, signaling complete success. The crowd erupted in astonishment. Aliens whispered among themselves. Humans were not expected to succeed in such trials. And yet here was one standing victorious without armor, without enhancements. Ethan felt a swell of pride, though he stayed calm. He had done what he had set out to do, not just survive, but show that courage and intelligence mattered more than protection. Lyra descended from above, floating gracefully to stand in front of him. She studied him, her violet eyes reflecting the glow of the orb. "I admit it," she said finally, her tone different now, less teasing, more respectful. "You are not just brave, human. You are remarkable. Few of my people could navigate that labyrinth so calmly." Ethan bowed slightly, acknowledging her praise. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said. "I did what I could. Humans value courage, strategy, and thinking ahead. Armor only protects the body, but it cannot protect the mind or heart." Lyra studied him for a long moment, then smiled faintly. "Perhaps humans are more interesting than I thought," she said. "You face challenges without fear. You show respect, yet do not bow to weakness. That is rare, even among my people." Before Ethan could respond, the crowd's attention shifted. A large projection appeared above the arena, showing alien warriors performing synchronized combat maneuvers. They were agile, fast, and precise. Yet Ethan noticed something else, an alien child watching him with wide eyes. The child seemed inspired, pointing and whispering to others. Ethan realized that his actions were not just being judged by the Queen, they were inspiring the younger generation of aliens. Lyra's voice broke his thoughts. "Human, you have completed the trial, but do not think this is the end. Tomorrow, the true test begins." Ethan frowned slightly. "A true test?" he asked. Lyra nodded, her expression serious for the first time. "This was only a demonstration of skill and intelligence. Tomorrow you will face a challenge that tests courage in a more unpredictable way. Are you prepared?" Ethan straightened. "I will be ready, Your Majesty." Lyra smiled, a mixture of amusement and intrigue. "Good. I look forward to seeing how a human faces the unknown without relying on armor or shields. That will be very telling." As Ethan left the arena, other humans and aliens approached him. Some congratulated him quietly, while others whispered about how unusual it was for a human to succeed in such a trial. Ethan felt the weight of his armor gone, replaced by the realization that he had gained something more valuable: respect. That night, Ethan sat in his quarters staring out at the glowing city. He reflected on the events of the day. Removing his armor had been risky, but it had paid off. Not only had he survived, but he had also shown that humans were not weak or inferior. They had courage, intelligence, and adaptability, qualities that could rival even the most agile aliens. And Queen Lyra, once mocking him, now looked at him differently. He sensed curiosity in her eyes, respect hidden behind her playful demeanor. Perhaps this challenge was more than just a test. Perhaps it was the beginning of something new, a chance for humans and aliens to understand each other, to learn from one another. Ethan knew that tomorrow's challenge would be even harder. The Queen had said it would test courage in ways he could not predict. But he felt ready. Armor or not, humans had strengths that could surprise even the most confident alien rulers. As he prepared for rest, Ethan whispered to himself, "I am not just a soldier. I am human, and we are stronger than they think." Outside, the city glowed under twin moons, reflecting light across crystal towers. Somewhere high above, Lyra watched, her expression thoughtful. The human had intrigued her, challenged her assumptions, and sparked a curiosity she had not expected. The stage was set for the next day. The real challenge awaited, and both human and alien would soon discover that courage, intelligence, and heart mattered more than any armor or weapon. The night passed quietly, but the anticipation hung in the air like electricity. Tomorrow, Ethan would face a test that could define humanity's place on this distant world. And Queen Lyra, young and brilliant, would witness firsthand what made humans remarkable. The trial was over, but the journey had only just begun. The morning sun glimmered over the crystal city, casting long rainbow-colored shadows across the streets. Ethan Kane walked through the bustling corridors, his armor now safely stored in the quarters. The city was alive with movement. Alien, Merchants selling glowing fruits, winged creatures darting through the skyways, and children practicing their unique games of agility. Yet Ethan's mind was focused on the challenge that awaited him today. Queen Lyra had called it a true test of courage, though she had not given him any details. He could only assume it would be more than the simulated trials of the arena. His experience yesterday had shown him that she was unpredictable. That unpredictability was part of her charm, and part of the danger. He reached the central plaza, where Lyra floated gracefully above the crowd. Her violet eyes immediately locked onto his. "Human," she said, her voice light but firm. "Today, you will face something different. Not illusions, not holograms. This challenge will require trust, intelligence, and courage. Are you ready?" Ethan nodded. "I am ready, Your Majesty." Lyra smiled faintly, then gestured toward a towering structure at the edge of the plaza. It was a labyrinth unlike anything he had seen before, an enormous crystalline maze with shifting walls, glowing traps, and pathways suspended in midair. But this time there was something different. A glowing mist surrounded the maze, obscuring some parts and creating an eerie, almost magical atmosphere. "You will not be alone," Lyra said. "I will join you. Together we will face the labyrinth. Only by working together can you succeed." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Together?" he asked. He had never expected to work alongside the Queen herself. Lyra nodded. "I want to see how humans operate with allies. Strategy, communication, courage. You will need all of them." As they entered the labyrinth, Ethan quickly realized how different this challenge was from yesterday's trials. The walls shifted without warning, glowing. Traps ignited randomly and platforms tilted or disappeared entirely. He relied on his instincts, carefully watching each step. Lyra moved beside him, her movements precise and graceful. She didn't speak much at first, only observing Ethan's reactions. Occasionally she offered small hints, such as pointing out a safe path or alerting him to a trap. Ethan appreciated the guidance but didn't rely on it. He needed to prove that humans could think independently, even in unfamiliar conditions. They reached the first obstacle, a series of suspended crystal bridges, each one thin and shimmering. Some were stable, others would tilt or crumble under weight. Ethan assessed the situation. He could cross, but he needed a strategy. "Follow my lead," Lyra said, stepping confidently onto a bridge that seemed unstable. The crystal held. Ethan followed, testing each step carefully. They moved in silence, their steps in perfect rhythm, learning each other's pace. Halfway across, a bridge tilted suddenly. Ethan barely managed to grab Lyra's hand, preventing both of them from falling. She looked at him, surprised, then smiled. "Clever," she said. "Humans think fast under pressure." Ethan nodded. "We survive by thinking ahead even when situations change." They reached the next section, a series of floating platforms, each moving at different speeds. Some platforms seemed to vanish briefly before reappearing. Ethan studied the pattern and realized timing was key. If he moved too quickly, he would fall. Too slowly, and the path would collapse. Lyra noticed his hesitation. "Trust your instincts, human," she said. "Don't overthink." He took a deep breath, then leaped from one platform to the next, moving with a careful balance of calculation and instinct. Lyra followed, gliding effortlessly beside him. Together they navigated the floating maze, their coordination improving with every step. Finally, they reached a chamber filled with glowing crystals that emitted a soft hum. In the center was a large, suspended crystal sphere. Ethan could see traps surrounding it, pulses of energy that could knock him off balance if he was careless. "This is the test," Lyra said, her voice calm but serious. "Retrieve the sphere. You must do it without triggering the traps." Ethan studied the sphere. It was larger than he expected, and the traps were unpredictable. He realized that this challenge required not only courage but communication and trust between him and Lyra. He gestured to her. "We should work together. You can distract the energy pulses while I reach the sphere." Lyra raised an eyebrow. Interesting strategy. Very human. She nodded and adjusted her position, moving with fluid grace to mislead the traps. Ethan took a deep breath and stepped carefully across the chamber, timing his movements with her motions. Step by step, he moved closer to the sphere. A pulse of energy surged nearby, but he dodged just in time. Another pulse, faster and more unpredictable, came from above. He leaped, landing safely beside the crystal sphere. With one hand, he reached out and grasped it. The chamber glowed, brightly, signaling success. The crowd outside the labyrinth erupted in cheers. Aliens and humans alike were astonished. Ethan had completed the challenge not alone, but in coordination with Queen Lyra herself. Lyra floated beside him, her violet eyes shining. "Well done, human," she said. "You did not just survive. You thrived. You planned, adapted, and trusted your instincts. You even considered teamwork. Few of my people could achieve that." Ethan handed her the sphere. "It is our success, Your Majesty," he said. "Not mine alone." Lyra studied him for a moment, then smiled. A genuine, soft smile that showed a new level of respect. "You are remarkable," she said quietly. "Perhaps humans are not just strong or clever. Perhaps you also have wisdom in knowing when to rely on others." Ethan felt a warmth of pride. He had expected to earn respect through skill and courage, but he hadn't realized he would also gain it through cooperation. This was a new side of diplomacy, a new way to connect with another species. As they exited the labyrinth, the citizens of the city whispered among themselves. Many had never seen a human move so skillfully, think so strategically, and work so effectively with an alien. Ethan noticed some of the children imitating his movements, inspired by what they had witnessed. Lyra spoke softly as they walked through the plaza. "You are different from what I expected, Ethan Kane. I thought humans were rigid, slow, predictable. Yet you have shown me courage, intelligence, and adaptability. You have earned my respect." Ethan bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Humans are curious, resilient, and willing to take risks. We may be different from your people, but that does not make us weak." Lyra's smile widened. "Indeed, you have surprised me." For the rest of the day, Ethan walked through the city with Lyra by his side. She showed him hidden gardens suspended, above the towers, streams of light that seemed to dance, and libraries of knowledge that contained centuries of alien wisdom. Yet, despite her youth, she was wise beyond her years, and Ethan realized that this queen was more than just a ruler. She was a learner, a strategist, and now, an ally. At sunset, they reached a balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons rose, casting silvery reflections across the crystal towers. Lyra turned to Ethan. "Human, you have earned more than respect," she said quietly. "You have earned my curiosity. I wish to understand more about your species, your strengths, your values." Ethan smiled faintly. "I would be honored, Your Majesty. Humans have much to share, and I believe we have much to learn as well." Lyra nodded, thoughtful.
"Perhaps this is the beginning of something greater, an alliance between our peoples, one built not on fear but on understanding and courage." Ethan felt a thrill of hope. He had come to this alien world as a soldier, expecting to prove
human strength through armor and skill. Yet he had discovered something more valuable: trust, respect, and the potential for friendship across worlds. As night fell over the glowing city, Ethan reflected on the day's events. He had faced challenges more complex than any battle on Earth. He had relied not on armor or weapons, but on intelligence, courage, and the willingness to cooperate with an alien queen who had once mocked him. And in doing so, he had shown that humans were more than capable, not just physically, but mentally and morally. He had proven that true strength came from heart and mind, not just protection or force. Lyra, standing beside him, watched the city with a quiet intensity. The young queen had found an unexpected respect for humanity, and perhaps a beginning of a new understanding. She had challenged Ethan Kane, and in return he had taught her something about courage, ingenuity, and the unpredictable strength of the human spirit. The journey was far from over. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new tests of courage, and perhaps dangers that neither human nor alien could predict. But for tonight, they had found something rare: mutual respect. And with that foundation, anything seemed possible. Ethan turned back to look at the city, feeling a sense of pride and determination. The true trials were yet to come, but he now knew that he could face them with courage, intelligence, and allies by his side. The adventure continued, and both human and Queen would discover just how far bravery, trust, and ingenuity could carry them. The Crystal City was peaceful at first light. Twin suns rose slowly above the horizon, casting warm, golden light over the towering spires. Ethan Kane walked beside Queen Lyra through the central plaza, still reflecting on the events of the labyrinth. The Queen's respect had been earned, yet neither of them knew how quickly the calm could be shattered in a world like this. Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed across the city. The ground shook slightly beneath their feet. Citizens looked up, startled, as bright red lights flickered in the distance. Ethan's instincts kicked in immediately. Something was wrong. "What is happening?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. Lyra's violet eyes darkened with concern. "A rogue faction," she said. "They have attacked the outer districts. We must move quickly. These aliens seek to destabilize the city, and they are dangerous." Without hesitation, Ethan followed her to the command center, a massive hall filled with alien strategists and holographic maps. Lyra floated to a console, fingers moving swiftly over the controls. Ethan observed, realizing that this was far more than a trial now. Lives were at stake. The holographic map displayed groups of attackers, fast, aggressive, and well-armed. The city's defenses were strong, but the rogue faction's strategy was unpredictable. Lyra turned to him. "Ethan," she said, "I need your help. Your armor may slow you, but your mind is sharp. I need you to lead a group of humans and willing aliens to defend a critical sector." Ethan nodded without hesitation. "I understand, Your Majesty. We'll act quickly and smartly. Lives depend on it." He gathered a small team of human soldiers and a few alien volunteers. Unlike the heavily armored defenders of the city, this group relied on agility, strategy, and teamwork. Ethan briefed them quickly. "We need to block their advance here," he said, pointing at the map. "Avoid direct confrontation unless necessary. Use traps, misdirection, and terrain to our advantage. Keep civilians safe. We move as a team. No, one acts alone." The team moved swiftly through the crystal streets. Bright red blasts streaked past them, shattering crystalline structures and creating sparks of flying light. Civilians ran to safety as Ethan coordinated positions. He did not wear armor this time, relying on agility, speed, and intuition. Each move required precision and courage. They reached a narrow street where rogue fighters were advancing. Ethan scanned the area quickly, noticing that the walls and platforms could be used strategically. "Take cover behind the left pillars," he instructed. "Wait for my signal." As the attackers approached, Ethan noticed their formation. They were confident, expecting humans to be slow and easily intimidated. But Ethan had a plan. He signaled, and his team sprang into action. Aliens with long limbs dropped nets. Humans triggered traps that caused blinding lights, and Ethan led the group with careful timing, striking only when necessary. The rogue faction was caught off guard. Their advantage of speed and numbers was neutralized by Ethan's strategy. Step by step, the attackers were pushed back, their formation broken. Lyra appeared above the battlefield, guiding the city's main defenses. She watched Ethan's movements closely, impressed by his calm and leadership. He did not panic even as attacks came from multiple directions. Instead, he adapted, directing his team to adjust positions and cover each other. A group of rogue fighters attempted to flank them from above. Ethan noticed just in time. "Watch the rooftops," he shouted. Using a combination of careful jumps and quick maneuvers, he intercepted the attackers, forcing them to retreat. The battle raged for hours. Ethan's team was smaller, but their coordination and intelligence allowed them to outmaneuver the rogue. faction repeatedly. Civilians were evacuated safely, and key structures were protected from damage. Finally, the leader of the rogue faction appeared, a massive alien with golden armor, moving with precision and strength. His presence alone caused a moment of fear in the defenders. Ethan assessed the situation. A direct fight would be dangerous. He needed to think strategically. He noticed a series of suspended platforms above the streets. "Follow me," he called. "We can force him into a trap." The team moved quickly, drawing the leader toward the platforms. Ethan calculated the timing perfectly. As the leader followed, Ethan triggered a series of levers that caused platforms to shift, creating a maze-like obstacle. The rogue leader struggled to adapt to the shifting paths, losing balance. Lyra, observing from above, manipulated city defenses to create barriers and energy nets. Together, human and alien worked in perfect synchronization. The rogue leader finally stumbled and was surrounded, forced to retreat by sheer strategy and teamwork. The city erupted in cheers as the rogue faction withdrew. Ethan's team had saved the critical sector without unnecessary violence. Lives were spared, and the rogue attackers learned to respect the humans' intelligence and courage. Lyra descended gracefully, her violet eyes shining. "Ethan Kane," she said, her voice filled with admiration. "You have done what few could accomplish. You led humans and aliens with skill, courage, and precision. Your armor, or lack of it, did not hinder you. It revealed your true strength." Ethan bowed, slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I did what I could. Humans rely on intelligence, courage, and teamwork. Armor is useful, but it cannot replace strategy and heart." Lyra studied him for a long moment, then smiled. "You have proven yourself today, more than in any trial or challenge. I once mocked you for your armor, but now I see that courage does not come from protection. It comes from choice, action, and leadership." Ethan felt a sense of pride, not in victory alone, but in demonstrating the potential of humanity. His actions had saved lives, gained respect, and earned the trust of a powerful alien queen. As the city began to recover, citizens approached Ethan and his team. Children looked up at him with wide eyes, inspired by his bravery. Some aliens bowed, in respect, acknowledging the human who had led them to safety. Ethan realized that his actions today would be remembered long after the danger had passed. Lyra turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "Human, I underestimated your people. I assumed you relied on technology and armor to be strong, yet you have shown me that true strength lies in courage, intelligence, and heart. Today you have taught me something valuable." Ethan smiled. "I am glad, Your Majesty. Humans are capable, and we are willing to take risks for what is right. We adapt, learn, and face challenges, even when the odds are against us." The Queen nodded, her eyes reflecting the twin suns now setting on the horizon. "Perhaps this is the beginning of a new understanding between our species. Courage, leadership, and trust are qualities we both value. We could achieve much together." Ethan felt hope stir within him. He had come to this alien world expecting trials and tests, but he had discovered something more important: friendship, trust, and respect between two very different species. The future seemed full of possibilities. As night fell over the city, Lyra and Ethan stood on a balcony overlooking the crystal towers, the soft glow of the twin moons reflected in their eyes. Ethan knew that more challenges would come, but he was ready. Armor or no armor, humans could face any threat with courage, intelligence, and heart. Lyra's voice broke the quiet. "Ethan Kane, you have proven that humans are remarkable. I look forward to seeing how far your courage can take you, and how much we can learn from each other." Ethan nodded, determined. "We will face what comes together, Your Majesty. Humans are not just survivors, we are thinkers, leaders, and allies. Today was only the beginning. The city rested, safe for now, but the memory of courage, bravery, and leadership would shine far brighter than any crystal tower." Ethan had shown that humanity's greatest strength was not in armor or weapons, but in mind, heart, and action. The crisis had tested him, but he had emerged stronger, wiser, and more respected than ever. And Queen Lyra, once mocking him, now truly understood the remarkable potential of the human spirit. The adventure continued, but Ethan Kane had proven one truth: humanity's courage and intelligence could stand against any challenge, even in a world as alien and unpredictable as this one. The morning air was cool over the Crystal City, yet the energy was electric. Word of Ethan Kane's bravery had spread across the towers and streets. Citizens gathered in the central plaza, curious to see the human who had faced the labyrinth, survived the trials, and led defenders during the crisis. Children pointed excitedly, whispering among themselves while elders nodded in respect. Ethan walked beside Queen Lyra, who floated effortlessly above the ground. She no longer wore the playful expression that had once mocked him. Her violet eyes were filled with admiration and thoughtful curiosity. Today would be a day of recognition and diplomacy, a celebration of courage, intelligence, and mutual respect. The people are eager to see you, human, Lyra said softly. They wish to honor the actions you have taken, not as a soldier, but as a representative of humanity's values. Ethan nodded. I am humbled, Your Majesty. I only did what any human would: protect lives, act wisely, and face challenges with courage. Lyra smiled faintly. Perhaps, but few humans would do so with such humility and skill. Today you set an example, not just for your species, but for mine as well. They approached a raised platform in the central plaza. The city's leaders and citizens had gathered, and the air was alive with anticipation. Lyra stepped forward and addressed the crowd. Citizens of our city, she began, her voice carrying clearly. Today we honor a visitor, a human who has shown exceptional courage, intelligence, and wisdom. He did not rely on armor alone, but on his mind, his heart, and his willingness to act when others hesitated. The crowd erupted in cheers, clapping and shouting. Ethan stepped forward, feeling a mix of pride and humility. He had never sought recognition, yet seeing the admiration in both human and alien eyes filled him with a quiet satisfaction. Lyra continued, her voice warm but commanding. Ethan Kane, you have proven that true strength is not measured by armor, weapons, or speed alone. It is measured by courage, action, and the willingness to protect and inspire others. On behalf of my people, I honor you. Ethan bowed deeply. Thank you, Your Majesty. I am honored beyond words. Humans value courage and teamwork, and I hope this is the beginning of mutual understanding between our species. The Queen smiled. Indeed, let this day mark a new chapter, a chapter where humans and aliens work together, learn from one another, and face challenges as allies, not strangers. After the ceremony, Ethan and Lyra walked through the city, speaking quietly. Citizens approached them, curious about the human who had become a symbol of courage. Some asked questions about Earth, humans, and their ways. Ethan answered patiently, sharing stories of human ingenuity, creativity, and resilience. Lyra listened intently, fascinated by the similarities and differences between their species. She had once assumed humans relied solely on armor and weapons. Yet Ethan had demonstrated that courage, intelligence, and strategy were the true measures of strength. Your people are remarkable, Lyra said quietly as they walked along a bridge spanning a glowing river. I mocked you at first, thinking humans were fragile compared to my species. But you have shown me that strength comes in many forms. Physical might is not the only path to greatness, Ethan smiled. Strength comes in many ways, Your Majesty. Humans survive because we adapt, think, and act with heart. We may not move as fast as your people or possess the same abilities, but we find ways to succeed through courage and ingenuity. Lyra nodded. I see that now. And I am grateful for your lessons, Ethan Kane. Not only did you protect my city, but you also taught me to see humans differently. As evening fell, Ethan was invited to dine in the royal palace. The halls were filled with soft, glowing light, and delicate sounds of alien music floated through the air. Aliens and humans ate together, sharing food and stories. Ethan noticed children imitating his movements from earlier trials, copying his cautious steps and calculated jumps. He realized that bravery and intelligence could inspire future generations. During the meal, Lyra spoke privately to Ethan. "Human, I have a proposal," she said. "Your courage and wisdom have earned my trust. I wish for you to stay, not as a soldier, but as an ambassador, a bridge between our peoples. Would you accept this responsibility?" Ethan considered her words carefully. This was more than he had expected when he first arrived. To be an ambassador, to share knowledge, foster understanding, and inspire collaboration was an honor beyond any he had imagined. "I would be honored, Your Majesty," he said finally. "I will serve humanity and your people to the best of my ability. Together we can build trust, understanding, and cooperation." Lyra smiled, a mixture of pride and relief. "Then it is settled. You will remain, and together we will strengthen the bond between our worlds. You have shown that courage, intelligence, and heart matter more than any armor or weapon." The next days were filled with meetings, lessons, and planning for future cooperation. Ethan learned about alien technology, culture, and strategy, while sharing human ideas in return. Together, he and Lyra worked on initiatives to improve the lives of both humans and aliens, education, exploration, and mutual defense. One evening, Ethan and Lyra walked along the highest balcony of the palace, overlooking the city bathed in the glow of twin moons. The air was quiet, filled with the gentle hum of energy from the crystal towers. "You know," Lyra said softly, "I once mocked you for your armor. I thought it hid fear, weakness, or hesitation. But now I see that true strength is not what you wear, it is what you do, how you think, and the courage to act when others might falter." Ethan nodded. "Armor protects the body, but courage protects the spirit. Humans know that fear is natural, but it does not define us. We act despite it, and that is where true strength lies." Lyra looked at him, her violet eyes thoughtful. "Perhaps I was too young to understand courage fully before meeting you. You have taught me that even the smallest actions, when guided by heart and mind, can inspire and change the course of events." Ethan smiled. "And you have taught me that intelligence, curiosity, and leadership are universal values. No matter the species, bravery and wisdom are respected everywhere." They stood in silence for a moment, watching the glowing city below. Ethan thought about his journey, from a soldier in armor to a human who had faced trials, dangers, and skepticism, only to earn trust, respect, and friendship. Lyra, once mocking, had become an ally, a teacher, and a student in her own right. The peace of the night was comforting, but both knew challenges would come again. Yet they faced the future with confidence, knowing that courage, strategy, and mutual respect could overcome any obstacle. As Ethan prepared to rest that night, he reflected on the journey. He had come to this alien world with the simple goal of completing a mission, yet he had found something far more important: recognition, understanding, and the chance to create bonds that could last generations. Queen Lyra entered his quarters, briefly. "Sleep well, human. Tomorrow brings new lessons, but tonight know that your actions have left a mark on my city, my people, and me." Ethan nodded. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will rest knowing that courage, intelligence, and respect are valued here, and I will continue to serve as a human, as a friend, and as an ambassador." Lyra smiled and left quietly, leaving Ethan to his thoughts. He gazed out the window at the crystal city bathed in moonlight, feeling a sense of peace and purpose he had never known. Humans could survive in alien worlds not by armor alone, but by courage, intelligence, and heart. That truth had carried him through trials, crises, and finally to recognition. The next day, ceremonies formally declared him a human ambassador, forging a lasting alliance between Earth and Lyra's world. The city celebrated, children cheered, and Ethan Kane's name became known as a symbol of courage, leadership, and mutual respect. Queen Lyra stood beside him, no longer mocking, only proud. "You have changed my perspective, Ethan Kane," she said. And I believe that together humans and aliens can achieve remarkable things. Ethan smiled. And I believe we have only just begun. Courage, intelligence, and heart. These are values that can build bridges across worlds. The crystal towers reflected the light of twin suns, a symbol of hope, understanding, and a future where humans and aliens could walk together as allies. Ethan Kane had shown that true strength was not in armor or weapons, but in action, choice, and the courage to face the unknown. And so, on this alien world, the human soldier who once wore armor now stood as a symbol of bravery, wisdom, and the limitless potential of humanity. The journey had ended, but the legacy had just begun.